This idea of being a fuddy-duddy, a mollycoddle, shilly-shally about things that are wrong inside the church. And a great many people say, well, we just don't want to disturb things. You don't? My friend, you better, because the devil has moved in on you, and he'll divide you as sure as anything. We should be stirred up to a righteous anger when the cause is right. I tell you, we need courage today. And if there's one thing that is needed in the church, it's conviction and courage on that which is right. You see, actually outside, friends, right now, the church doesn't have a good name. And the world's passing us by. They're not coming our way anymore. And this spiritual movement has been largely outside the church. Church has been playing church. And a little group there have been having a good time. They're not reaching the lost today. The world's passing them by. And a preacher in the north said to me, and he gets angry. He says, you know, this thing makes me angry today. He said, you can't reach out and touch the lost today because they know of the hypocrisy and the dishonesty and the pious platitudes that are quoted inside the church. When the world outside knows that, they're not coming our way, friend. They want to know whether we are telling the truth or not, whether we're being honest in what we have to say. And I tell you, what you have to say may stir up some of the brethren. And I'm for stirring them up. And they need to be stirred up today. But we have too many cowards. They call themselves acting like Christians. You know, we want to be sweet and nice. Well, may I say to you, that is absurd. A great many today are hiding their cowardice back of the fact they say, oh, I'm acting like a Christian. You're not. You're acting like a coward. Now, when this man, Nehemiah, brought this right out in the open, nobody was able to answer him. They had to keep quiet while he's there. The minute you leave, they're going to start, my friend, all the trouble they can, and they're going to give Nehemiah a lot of trouble when he goes back to Shushan the palace. But nevertheless, he rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem, and he served God in his day and generation. Now will you notice, verse 9, also I said it's not good that ye do. Ought ye not to walk in the fear of our God because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies? Now, Christ is a reproach today in the world. But is he a reproach because of the conduct of the church? And because of the conduct of believers? And because of the conduct of you and of me? This is a question for us to ask ourselves. This man, Nehemiah, said, look, you are causing the enemy out there to blaspheme because of this. Now, verse 10, I likewise and my brethren and my service might exact of them money and corn. I pray you let us leave off this usury. Now, I think today you'll find that this is the real test, and it sure was the test of Nehemiah. And he says, I was in a position where I could have got in on this. I could have been financially benefited by it. And I tell you, the grasping person today is after the last farthing. A great many people are putting the dollar ahead of God. And you can put a dime up in front of your eye, and you can't even see the sun. And there are a lot of folk that are looking at the world like that today. Now, notice what he does. Verse 11, restore, I pray you, to them even this day their lands, their vineyards, their olive yards, their houses, also the 100th part of the money, and of the corn, the wine, and the oil that ye exact of them. And you're not going to collect any more payments from them. Then said they, we will restore them, and will require nothing of them, so will we do as thou sayest. Then I called the priests, and took an oath of them, that they should do according to this promise. And old Nehemiah, I love this fella. He says, I don't believe you. You're going to have to sign on the dotted line. And these are God's people, by the way. He said, I want you to sign on the dotted line. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I think I ever made in the ministry was to believe Christians. And I hate to say that. But, friends, I've had a lot of experience. And somebody needs to talk very frank today. I've always figured, well, this man's a Christian, and I can believe it. I found out I couldn't believe it. And as one very outstanding Christian businessman, he's a real honest man, he said to me, he said, you know, McGee, I've got to the place where I don't even like to do business with Christians. I'd much rather do business with the man in the world, because I'm going to watch him. But the Christian, I assume that he's going to be honest, and he's not always honest. May I say to you, I have really been taken in my day just because I believe Christian. And we ought to be able to. But Nehemiah is very practical. He says, all right, you promise that you're going to return it. I don't believe you. Sign you on the dotted line. That's what I want you to do.